Quint's podcast.
The Quint presents the big story for 24th November 2020. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast don't belong to Audible but are those of the Quint unless otherwise noted. In what is being seen as a contentious move by some members of the medical fraternity, the government has issued a notification that allows Ayurvedic doctors to be trained and legally authorized to perform 58 surgeries. This includes 39 general surgical procedures and 19 procedures involving the eye, ear, nose, and throat. This came as the Central Council of Indian Medicine, which is a statutory body that comes under the AYUSH Ministry, amended the Indian Medicine Central Council Postgraduate Ayurveda Education Regulations of 2016 to include the regulation to allow postgraduate students of Ayurveda to practice general surgery. Although the AYUSH Ministry has denied allegations of any policy shift, many are looking at this move by the centre as a sign of an impending paradigm shift in healthcare from modern medicine to the traditional form, or an attempt to mix both strains of medicine. The Indian Medical Association, or the IMA, was the first one to come down heavily against this decision, saying that this was a quote-unquote retrograde step of mixing modern medicine with traditional systems and will be resisted at all costs. So why is the move garnering so much controversy? What are the concerns with this move? In this podcast, you'll hear from Vaishali Sood, the editor of Quint Fit, and Dr. Ashwini Setia, a gastroenterologist and program director in Delhi's Max Super Specialty Hospital. The Central Council of Indian Medicine, or the CCIM, put out a Gazette notification recently on 20th November, notifying the amendment to the Indian Medicine Central Council Postgraduate Ayurveda Education Regulations of 2016. Under the 2020 amendment, postgraduates from certain select streams of Ayurveda will be eligible to train for surgeries, and they will need to have gone through the training before being able to independently perform surgeries. These procedures, according to a report on The Hindu, include, and I'm quoting the report, quote, all types of skin grafting, earlobe repair, excision of simple cyst and benign tumors, lipoma, fibroma, schwannoma, etc. of non-vital organs, excision or amputation of gangrene, traumatic wound management, all types of suturing, ligation, and repair of tendons and muscles, foreign body removal from stomach, colostomy, cataract surgery, local anesthesia in the eye, rhinoplasty, hair lip repair, loose tooth extraction, root canal treatment, etc. End quote. Students of Ayurveda, according to the notification, will be trained in 2 streams of surgery and will be awarded titles of MS Shalya Tantra General Surgery and MS Shalakya Tantra, which would include diseases of eye, ear, nose, throat, head, and orthodontistry. While this notification immediately raked up criticism from the medical fraternity, the AYUSH Ministry clarified that it's not a new notification, rather it's a clarification. For starters, Shalya and Shalakya have always been independent departments in Ayurveda colleges that perform these surgeries. Earlier, a notification in 2016 had said that students should undergo training of the investigative procedures, techniques, and surgical performance of procedures and management in the respective specialty, but the details of these were up to the specific PG courses. This new notification essentially irons out these issues and brings the details into the regulation. So then, what is the controversy all about? Vaishali Sood, who's the editor of FIT, the Quint's health vertical, explains what this notification entails and the concerns that have been raised around it.
So as the ministry later clarified, this is not a new notification. They're just specifying which surgeries will be covered under Ayurveda. It's also important to remind our readers, that our listeners, that Ayurvedic doctors have been performing surgeries for a while now. And their discipline, as part of their learning, they do learn some modern medicine subjects, and they have been performing certain surgeries for nearly 20 years, is what one of the Ayurvedic doctors told us. I'm sure it's longer. I think the objection, and the broader objection that most doctors of modern medicine have, and it's a fair objection, and which is what IMA is raised, is saying that you cannot mix 2 streams of medicine. And Ayurveda for long has existed. Everyone's aware of it. It's part of our heritage and tradition, and there's been a lot written about it, but there are not enough scientific papers where rigors of science have been applied, where randomized clinical trials have been carried out that prove that Ayurvedic method of medicine works. So, in the absence of all of this, applying modern medicine techniques to an Indian medicine stream without the training, without the education, without the rigors is unfair and dangerous. I think this is the argument that the Ayurvedic community has repeatedly got, and and the repeated argument is that if your science works, apply the rigors of science, conduct large scale randomized trials, prove that your system of medicine works. And if it does, so it does. And it earns the respect of scientists once it's gone through the rigors of science and the rigors of proper study designs. And that's something, for some reason, one finds that the Ayurvedic community resists, although there has been some change, and uh, many Ayurvedic bodies are now trying to carry out their own trials. But it's a slow process, and not enough has been done to reassure the critics. I think more importantly, if there is a certain system of medicine that the doctors have studied, it's unfair for them to apply another system of medicine which involves a completely different level of study and different rigors of study to them. And it's unfair on also the doctors of modern medicine who have gone through years and years of training, that they be appended by doctors who've gone through a completely different type of training.
And adding to what Vaishali said, the Indian Medical Association, or the IMA, which is the apex lobby of 3.5 lakh doctors in the country, has put out a very stern statement condemning what they see as the centre's ambitious one nation, one system policy in medical education and called it a cocktail of disaster. But most importantly, they look at it as an overreaching attempt to mix modern and Indian medicines. And I'm going to read out some lines from the statement. Quote, "We unequivocally condemn the uncivil ways of the Central Council of Indian Medicine to arrogate itself to vivisect modern medicine and empower its practitioners with undeserving areas of practice. The said council has come out with a gazette notification of a list of surgical procedures which can be performed by its practitioners. They have no right to the technical terms, techniques and procedures of modern medicine. The IMA draws the Lakshman Rekha which they can cross at their peril." End quote. It also urged the CCM to develop its own surgical disciplines from its own ancient texts and not claim the surgical disciplines of modern medicine as its own. But this won't be the first time that the IMA has come to be at loggerheads with the government amid the pandemic over the centre's promotion of alternate medicine. Earlier in October, the body questioned Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan's move to promote yoga and Ayurveda for mild or asymptomatic COVID patients and accused him of, quote, inflicting a fraud on the nation and gullible patients by calling placebos as drugs, end quote. And it's not just the IMA, many others in the fraternity have also expressed their concerns. We got in touch with some doctors to understand their views on this decision. Is it a good decision or a bad one for medicine? Dr. Ashwini Setya, a gastroenterologist and program director in Delhi's Max Super Specialty Hospital, explains why it's been called a quote-unquote retrogressive step. He says that the treatment philosophy of Indian systems of medicine is completely at variance with modern medicine.
See, we've got to put this in perspective. As far as they themselves are concerned, it may be a good decision for them. But as far as the stand taken by Indian Medical Association, it's a retrogressive step. Now, why it is so is because, you see, to the best of my belief and information, the treatment philosophy of Indian systems of medicine is completely different or completely at variance with the modern medicine. You see, their basis is something which, and we speak in two different languages. their basis is something like Vat, Pitta, Kapha, which we don't understand at all. Most of the diseases they diagnose on taking a pulse. And, the characterization of pulse, what we do in modern medicine is completely different from what they do and what they infer from it. So the basis is different. Now, secondly is, of course, I'm not denying them their right to do whatever they want to do or they can do. But question is, it is an overreach as far as or encroachment, I must say, on the domain which is traditionally been practiced by modern medicine. And there are so many innovations, inventions done by the modern medicine people. In surgery, for example. Coming to the legality of it, it's a gazette notification, but there are plethora of judgments by Supreme Court, and no less, which says that you can practice the art and science of what you've trained in. So in case, let's say, there is, I believe that there is some endoscopic surgery also they plan to train them in or teach them in. Now, that has hitherto not been seen in Ayurveda, not been trained, at least to the best of my knowledge, it has not been there. So how are you going to do it? So necessarily there is what is a mixture, which per se I don't mind. Question is whether it is going to be effective for the patients and whether we are not going against the spirit of not only the ethics but the law also.
We also tried reaching out to some Ayurvedic practitioners for this episode to understand their side of the argument. Unfortunately, they were not available for a comment. But responding to the IMS statement, the AYUSH Ministry clarified that, quote, all scientific advances, including standardized terminologies, are inheritances of the entire mankind. No individual or group has monopoly over these terminologies. The modern terminologies in the field are not modern from a temporal perspective, but are derived substantially from ancient languages like Greek, Latin, and even Sanskrit, and later languages like Arabic, end quote. To the notion of quote-unquote mixing streams, they said it does not arise here as, quote, the CCIM is deeply committed to maintaining the authenticity of Indian systems of medicine and is against any such mixing, end quote. But where does this decision leave the future of healthcare? The editor for this podcast is Shelly Walia, and it's been produced by me, your host, Shorbri. If you like listening to The Big Story, please log on to the Quint's website and check out the podcast section for more.